Hello and welcome once again to my channel. So in continuation to the previous part, now where we are at currently at Raspberry Pi home screen where we have actually set it up and we have come on the desktop and I have gone ahead and installed Python and everything. I will show you how to do that, but I will still gone ahead and installed on it so that we can save some time there. And it's just it's up and ready for whatever we're going to do. So let me just go ahead and bring my Raspberry Pi screen. Okay, so here we are at the Raspberry Pi desktop, or what we can call it. I have created this folder called program where we're going to store all our programs or the software that we're going to create. Now, further to that, let's just go ahead and open up the terminal. And in terminal, first thing what we'll do is I'll make it a little larger so that you guys can see it. Okay, zoom in, zoom in. I think this should be good enough. So what I'll do is I will just go ahead and install Python 3, which I've already done it, but I'll still go ahead and do it. There is another way which you can do it. You can actually go ahead and do a putty with your Raspberry Pi, and in that you can use the same command and you can install it. So I'll just go ahead and do it from here on the screen so that it is you can sorry. Python 3. Oops. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And before you do that, make sure you update your Raspberry Pi and everything. Now, if you see, it says that the Python 3 is already installed. So we have actually gone ahead and installed it. So I will show you how to do this in the putty. Let me just pull up the putty screen. Before you go ahead and pull up the putty, you need to check one thing. What is the IP address of your Raspberry Pi? So we will just go ahead and do ipconfig. Sorry, we will just go ahead and do ipconfig if config. Sorry, old habits die hard. I'm more of a Windows guy. So if you see, this is how the screen would look like. The entire screen should look like this, which is kind of a little bit boring, not much of information. But what we are looking at, if you are connected to the Ethernet, so you should be looking this information here. But since we are connected on Wi-Fi, so we are looking the information on our WLAN. So you can connect to either Wi-Fi or the Ethernet cable, your network cable. So if it is on the network cable, you have to look the information here. Otherwise, you can look up the information here. Now we are looking for something which says iNet, that is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. In our case, it is 192.168.1.34. Now, this is the information that we're going to use to go ahead and take control of our Raspberry Pi. Everything, this is a very important IP address. Make sure you remember it. So let's just go ahead and log into Putty and let's just go ahead and work with that. Okay, so I have my putty installed here, so you can just go ahead and install the putty. I will put the link from where you can install this putty application. This will do an SSH to our Raspberry Pi. Now there are two ways to do it. So the IP address, that if you remember what we saw in the Raspberry Pi, that was, this is our IP address. And you can, once you do that, you just go ahead and save it. And once you save it, it will appear like this. So you can just give it a name, like whatever name you want, and save it. So once you save it, it will appear over here. So I'll just go ahead and show it to you. So for example, I'll just say Raspberry Pi. Whatever name you want to give, that's completely up to you. So just go and save it. Next time you just double click on it, it will open, or without even saving, you can just simply click on open and it will give you the SSH. Now, if you see, we have our PuTTY screen here, and in here we have to go ahead and log in. So our login would be our username, which is by default as Pi, and the password that you would have kept. Now, just for your information, the password will not be shown here. Whatever you type, it will appear as nothing is happening, but you can just go ahead and type your password and press enter, and you would be logged in. So the name of my Raspberry Pi is My Little Robot. I mean, I've just named it, so you can name anything you want. But then, so let's just see, where are we right now? So we say present working directly, so we are in home. So we have to go to the desktop. So we see desktop, and we just go ahead, we are in desktop now, so we go ahead and list it, and we see only one on the folder which says program, the folder which we created. Now in this, we're going to save all our programs here. Now this is one way of doing it. Second way of doing it, let me just quit PuTTY here. Second way of doing this is that we just go ahead and use the taskbar, and in the taskbar we do remote session. So I will say remote desktop connection. So once we do remote desktop connection, we have to type our IP address here, and we just click on connect. So once you click on connect, it will ask you for the username. So our username is Pi, and our desktop, whatever you want to name. This is how I normally prefer. Now, if you see, since we had not logged off, that session is still open, and we just logged in back again. But then this is how it will pull up your desktop. Now, with this, the advantage is that you don't have to connect any external display with your Raspberry Pi. You can just simply go ahead and take remote on that, and then you can start working on it. So now, since we are on the desktop screen of our Raspberry Pi, what we'll do is we'll launch the program to go ahead and start with Raspberry Pi. So we're going to use Thorny Python IDE, and this you have to make sure that you have installed Python 3 already. So if the Python 3 is not installed, you will not be able to work on this. So we will just go ahead and launch Thorny Python IDE. Just click on it. It takes a little bit of time to launch it. Okay, so this is how our Python IDE looks, Thorny Python IDE looks like. Now what we're going to do is we will just go ahead and write a couple of programs here, and then we will start it programming with our Raspberry Pi. So our first program, we'll just click on new, and then the program, we can just, a simple program would do, maybe a hello world program or anything like that. That's how it is. So you just click on print hello world and click on run, and you see the output there. So let's just run it and save it. So I will just go to desktop, program, and save it as hello world.py. Click on OK, and just go and run. So if you see, the output is shown here. It says hello world here as my output. Now this is our first program. So now in Python there is a concept of importing date and time and other library values. So we'll just go ahead and write import date time. So this is a library which it imports for us to give certain values. Now we want to go ahead and get what is the date and time as per the Raspberry Pi. So I will just go ahead and say put time is equal to date time dot date time dot now, and print time. So what is happening is let me just go ahead and put brackets. So I'm just taking the current date and time value and storing it in the variable called time, and once I run it, it will just go ahead and say date time has no attribute. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's date and time. So it's date time. There was a typo error. We'll run it again. Okay. Now if you see, as per this, it shows 19/1/2019 with 4 in the morning, and the whatever the time is. So now this is a simple program of Raspberry Pi. Now with this, we will directly jump to our next program, which is our Raspberry Pi, working with other things, for example, our robots and everything. So what we'll do is we will just go ahead and write a program for setting up LEDs or blinking of LEDs. Now, if you see in the Raspberry Pi, there are a couple of Gpio pins which I showed you earlier. So there is Gpio pins numbering and labeling for Raspberry Pi, which is going to be numbered based on their position in the Raspberry Pi. So I'll just show it to you, the numbering of it. So basically, this is how our Raspberry Pi look like. The pins it will look like. So we just have to go ahead and count the number starting from the Raspberry Pi itself. Just I will show you which is our pins right now. In Raspberry Pi, this is our pin number 1. So it starts from pin number 1, pin number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on, 39, 40. So we have around 40 pins for Raspberry Pi. So this is our pin number 1, which is a 3.3 volt DC power. This is 5 volt DC power. Then we have Gpio 2, Gpio 3, 4. So these are the pins we can use for output and input. And we have pin DC 5, ground, and all those things. Now what we're going to do is we will set up a small LED with blink. We'll set up a small LED with blink operations to it. So what we'll do is we'll set up a small LED with blink operations to it, and we will make it blink. So first of all, let's just go ahead and connect it, put the connections with it, and then we will just go ahead and start working with it. So what we're going to do is, since we have these LEDs with us, so I will just go ahead and bring those LEDs here. So I have two LEDs, one is a red and one is a white LED. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set up a small LEDs operation with our Raspberry Pi from scratch. So now if you see, we have all these pins. As you remember, first pin was pin 3.3 volts. So we will just go ahead and set it up with 3.3 volts. Now, since these LEDs are very small, right, we are going to go ahead and need these LEDs to be working with us at a very lower voltage. So now if you see in the diagram what you have here, let me just show it to you. What you see in the diagram, what we have here is that our Gpio pins. So we're going to connect these two LEDs with Gpio 2 and Gpio 3 with one ground rail. So technically what we need is we need 3 cables, and with these 3 cables we need our Gpio 2, and one we will connect to to GPIO 2, that is the pin number 3, and 1 to GPIO 3, that is our pin number 5. Okay, and with that we need to connect it to these rails, the horizontal or the vertical ones, whatever you want to call them. These two rails, I will just give them a little bit difference. So now I've connected to the rail number 30 and rail number 24, and I will connect this one LED, which is, let me just, I'll connect one LED. Now this, the longer side of the LED goes to the positive side, and the shorter side of the LED, it goes to the ground side. So I'm going to put it on the positive, which is my GPIO output, and then I'm going to put it another to the GPIO 5 and the ground. So now I've connected two LEDs here. Now I need to connect it to the ground, which is my pin number 6. So that will, the first ground that we have is to the pin number 6. As per the picture, we can have it on other ones as well. For example, pin number 9, pin number 14, a couple of ground options we have here. So we'll connect to here. Now if you see this LED has come on, is because there is a current flow already on this, on our GPIO pin number 3. So we need to turn it off. So we need to turn all of them off. So to do that, first of all, I will have to import the GPIO library. So I would say import GPIO RPI dot GPIO as GPIO. Now this can be anything. This can be your X, Y, Z, ABCD, your name, whatever name you want, but this has to be exactly the same way. Just for information, our Raspberry Pi, the Python is a case-sensitive programming language. So everything, whatever you type, has to be in a case-sensitive way. Now, our GPIO pin is, we are setting up our GPIO pin number 4, number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 5 is our GPIO pin. So we will just go ahead and set them as our input or output pin. So for that, I will have to go ahead and as dot set mode GPIO dot board. Now this can be set in two ways, either the board way, for example the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the number, or as per the number which is given here, this number GPIO 2, GPIO 3, GPIO 4. So if you want to set it up as that number, that will go as BCM. You can set it up as BCM, or if you want to set it up as board, so you can set it up as well. So now let's just go ahead and set it up as board, because that is a little easier to memorize, I think so, for me. But it depends on person to person. So if you want to set it up as BCM, so just instead of BCM, you can just go ahead and type BCM over there, and then you can set it up as board. or BCM. So whichever, it's completely your call on that part. So we'll set it up as board, and once we set it up as board, we have to go ahead and set our GPIO pins, the input or output. So I would just go ahead and GPIO dot setup. So my pin number here is 3, and that is GPIO dot out, and my GPIO dot setup 5 GPIO dot out. So this GPIO dot out means that Raspberry Pi can only give output or send a signal from this specific pin. If I type in, that means the Raspberry Pi would expect to receive a signal from on this pin. What that means is that any pins which are our normal Raspberry Pi pins can either send a signal or receive a signal. If they are waiting to receive a signal, if we have any sensors connected to it, maybe an ultrasonic sound sensor or any other sensors are connected to it, we would be defining them as in. But then here, if we are connecting them to a motor or any kind of LEDs or any output what we want to see, we would set them as out. Now if you see, our LED connected to GPIO3 is on. So first thing what we need to do is we need to go ahead and make it as false. So false means that is output 3 as false. Then our GPIO. So we'll set everything as false right now. So that means that we'll just run this program and we'll save it. Just type anything plus GPIO. So we go ahead and save it. Now if you see, my LED is off. Now what I need to do is I need to go ahead and blink those LEDs. So what I'll do is, so if false is for turning them off, true is to turn those pins on. So I will just go ahead and 3 as true and GPIO dot output 5 as true. So this will turn them on, and I will just go ahead and turn them off again. Now let's just go ahead and run the program. So now if you see, nothing actually happened, but these LEDs did blink. I mean, I'm not sure if you can see them in the camera or not, but they did actually blink. But we couldn't see them because they blinked so fast that we couldn't really think it. So we want them to turn on and wait for some time and then go off again. So for that, we will have to import our library, which is called time. So what time will do is it will let us wait for that. So let's say I would say time dot sleep for maybe 2 seconds. All right, so let's just run it. Okay, so our GPIO 3 came on, but the GPIO 5 did not come on. Let's just see that why. Okay, so I figured that out. I had not inserted the LED correctly. I had inserted it the other way. The long side was in the ground and the short side was towards the positive on the red LED. Now if you see, both of my LEDs are turning on and both of them are turning off. What I want is I want them to turn them one by one, and then one they should not turn on each other at the same time. You know what I mean? So I will just what I'll do is I will go ahead and put a sleep timer in between them, and I will make sure once that is done. So I'll make sure once that is done. Now we in this what will happen is it will turn them on one by one. And we can do this by putting them in a loop. So just to put them in a loop, we would say we can say put them in is an indefinite loop which says while true. Now what we've done is we have put them in a loop. So what that loop means, till the time this loop is true, it will keep on repeating that operation. So now this it's we have not set any value, we just kept it as true. That means this is an indefinite loop, so it will keep on running it till the time we want it to. So we can just keep on running those LEDs, and you can put as many as LEDs you want depending on what is your. So let's say if we go ahead and reduce the time to 0.5 seconds, so let's see what happens. Just run it and it's become a little faster. So if we just go ahead and stop it and make it even shorter, 0.05, 0.05, and we just run it. Now if you see, it runs even faster. So you got the point. So what I'm trying to say here is that it depends on how you want to program and connect it, it will just go ahead and do that. Now here what we did was we have put them in a loop, so now we have to terminate the program for our we have to terminate the program forcefully, and we'll run it once to clean it up. So now if you now in this Gpio, all this now if you see in my program we have couple of warnings. The channel is already in use, the channel is already in use, because what we're doing is we are not cleaning up our pins after running the program. So what we do is gpio dot clean up, and we just do that and we just run it once. Now if next time when I run the program, I will not get that warning. So yeah, it just runs because I'm cleaning whatever is there on that. Okay, cool. So this is our first chapter on basic programming on our Raspberry Pi. So for further videos, just stay tuned. If you like this video, click on the like button, and if you're not subscribed to our channel already, please go ahead and subscribe it, and we will be posting further parts of this video to reach to a point or even more to the robot which you would have seen in the introduction of our first and second video. Till the time for the next video, goodbye.